Welcome back to the Being Mother Hustler podcast. I'm so excited today because I get to blast this lady all over the world. We did have a recording, pre-segment conversation not too long ago, and I enjoyed chatting with you, Michelle Hudson. Welcome to the Being Mother Hustler podcast.
Thank you, Corrine. And my name, the last name is Judson with a J.
Oh.
But it sounds like it should be silent at times. No, it's all okay. I answer to mom and hey you, and I used to be a wife and boss lady, which no one calls me that because that sounds so intimidating to me. But I answer to all kinds of things.
You're boss lady. But before you became boss lady, you were once a child. And I always love to listen to people's childhood. It just fires me up. So why don't you tell us about that childhood and, give us some highlights of it and tell us, how does that shape you to becoming who you are today or as a young adult, and how are you applying some of the knowledge that you learned from your parents into your own parenting?
Well, yes. So thank you so much for having me on here. And it's such a pleasure. And I love just the love that you're putting out there in the world and helping people tell their stories, which we each have our own story of our beginning, right? And, without knowing where it's ending. But we do have that beginning and it does ground us. So I'm the oldest of 5, and I live here in Oregon. I'm a native Oregonian, one of those few rare ones. I grew up on a farm on 5 acres. And I like to say that as a child, I always felt like an adult. I love my parents, and I'm grateful for all the things that they taught me how to be and how not to be. And I think my mom and I always had a bit of a competitive relationship, which I never set out to do that as a child, but I became the protector very early on. And so I helped raise my siblings. I helped champion them. And at any given point, I've been able to have the honor to be able to step in and help them with their lives at some point. And so the final sibling that I'm doing that with is my brother, who passed away at the end of May. And so he was one of my younger brothers. And so I'm the executor on the estate and helping that family. And it's a strange place to be.
We talked about that
a little bit. Yeah. But childhood wise, like I was always just this, I think I was always large and in charge. It's just who I am, always.
See, I told you you're a boss lady.
I have been. Like, if you were to ask my siblings, I'd be like, oh yeah, that one, like she's, but I also think that whether you're a boss lady at home or you're a boss lady out there in the world, it's really important that people don't identify with you as bossy or bossing them or controlling. And so that's always been my role in the family, is I'm there as a support, a champion, a cheerleader, a soft place to land is one of the things that I've been for a couple of my siblings. And I think that's a really important role. And I'm very grateful I've been able to do that.
I love that. I love how you call that soft place to land, because you're strong, obviously, because they lean on you as the oldest, and somewhat, even though you are a strong woman and a strong support system for them, and of course a great foundation for them. And in order to be a great foundation, you have to be that strong person. But at the same time, you called yourself as a soft landing for them.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us could use more of that in our lives, a place where life just sometimes has a way of like shaking it all up. And sometimes you need that soft place to land, to just hit restart, to sort of be loved, to not be judged, to have an opportunity to be like, okay, well, none of that worked out, or some of it worked out, or it all worked out, but it was a completely different outcome than I ever thought, because that's just life. But I think we all at different points in our life need a place where it's okay for us to look at that and say, okay, that didn't work out. It's not a failure, because I don't believe in failure. I believe in learning. But now here I am. And so, I don't know that that's something I necessarily have that often in my own life, which is, you know, part of being that large and in charge, but it's certainly something I've been able to give to others.
Yeah. But you know, when you're the large and in charge person, I think you can always plug into some sort of a community of like-minded
Mm,
people, or people that
yes.
have gone through the same sort of things, even though it's not exactly the same, because we're always all on a different journey in our life.
Yes.
But at least to have a conversation, it's very therapeutic. I know that my podcast, when I started it, it was merely a project to sort of just get in the minds of moms and
Mm,
understand what floats their boat, understand what struggles they go through. And
yes.
instead, it became healing for me. And the more I talk to moms like you, even though our stories are so, you know, different, but somehow the feeling is the same. The
Yeah.
feeling of isolation can be the same. The
Mm-hmm.
feeling of being large and in charge can be the same. The feeling of like you always want to think that you are the toughest person, but yet you need that person that is like you, but you can't be your, you know, you can't
Yeah.
support yourself when you're down and out. You need someone. So
Yes.
this podcast is what it's all about. Just
Yeah.
unload everything. You know, last week I talked to someone from Bali and we were crying together. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just so awesome to get to know humans
Yeah.
in this platform, and I'm enjoying it. You talk about um, being the soft landing for people, but
Mm.
how are you getting your soft landing? Where are you getting it from?
Well, I think that's a really great question. Actually, probably a month and a half ago, I was talking to a lovely mom and entrepreneur in Idaho. And I think she has like 4 or 5 children. And she, you know, anyone she wants to work with, she wants to know their story. And I think that's true for a lot of us. You know, you work with people, you work with products or companies because of the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I shared all of this and she was like, wow, you have so much on your plate. Like, I just have to stop and say, like, where are you getting your support?
Yes.
And it was funny because it really rocked my foundation.
Wow.
Because she's married and has a lovely family, and she knows that I'm not anymore, and all of those things. And she was like, where is your support coming from? Sorry, my dog's coming in. Yes,
Oh,
mom.
it's
I'm
okay.
talking, huh?
Your mom.
And all the kids are gone. They're all at sleepovers, which is so rare. They did that last night. And so her question really, it
Hit
really
you.
unnerved me. Yeah. And it, you know, it actually made me cry a little. And she doesn't know me. She was just pouring out love and support for me, and hope, and putting out there in the world that she wanted me to be able to have that. And I was just like, what? Because I think when you're so comfortable taking care of others, and so comfortable being in charge and knowing what's next, or just being able to just keep going,
Yeah.
um, then this idea of who's, you know, taking care of you, it really caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Because on a lot of ways, you know, it's like I've built this cohabitating with my sister and actually brother. So for almost 5 years, there's been 10 of us in what was at the time a 4-bedroom home. It's a little bigger now, and 1 bathroom. And we were taking care of each other for a long time, and we still are in ways, but we're doing it kind of disentangling some, because my sister has been able to get into a home for her and her children, and move out. But before that, we were already sensing this feeling of like, we needed to be less of partners for each other and kind of co-parents, and we needed to sort of create some distance and create our own lives. And also in doing that, just be sisters and not necessarily so carefully entangled, which has been
Mm.
great for each of us. But it also meant that I also didn't have that person
Mm.
as well. And thankfully enough, my brother is still here and I do have that person too. It's still not the same as, I don't know. I think sometimes what you can get in a relationship where you can just lay your head down on someone's lap and just sob. So I don't have that as much at the moment, but I'm very grateful to have such amazing people in my life and amazing friends that I can cry in front of. And I'm very good at just putting it out there and talking about it and not shielding away from that. And a little therapy and, you know, that kind of stuff, but not necessarily that energy to just sort of.
When we take care of a lot of people, we have this perception of we have to be tough and we can't show that to the world. We just go hide in the corner or hide in a bathroom or go because we feel that might be a sign of weakness. But I realized in doing this podcast and meeting so many people all across the globe is that when you cry it out, it feels so good and it's part of healing, right? It's part of the healing process. And I don't think we're always like, it's an infinite game, you know, it'll never end. And when some issues end, another one pops up. It's just, when you win, it's fleeting. The next day you're like, okay, how do we win again? You know, it's always, I don't like to call that a hustle, but it's always like a journey that never ends. Yeah. So when we do that and we take care of a lot of people, we feel like we need to be tough for them, but we forget that in order to heal, because we're always healing. I believe in that our life is always a healing process. And the more you grow, the more you've healed from whatever past and
the more you have like empathy and love and acceptance for others too, I think.
Yeah. And acceptance for yourself. And you understand that, you know, I can't, and you learn how to create boundaries. And boundaries is very hard to create for people that wants to take care of others, you know, because it's very catch-22. And I was talking to my 13-year-old the other day because after their parent-teacher conference this week, just makes me so proud that the teachers would say, you know, I need more students like your sons. And I'm like, oh, tell me more. I love hearing those, right? Yeah. Because I don't care about the grades. As long as they're great humans, that's all I care about.
What kind of human are they becoming?
Yeah. And so, because you think like, you always worry about being mom and a parent because, you know, my husband and I, we do a really good job, but you still worry whether you are or not, you know, whether you're messing them up or you do your best and if your best is good enough or not. So it's great to hear validation from like other people and teachers. This is, your son is not just nice. He's very kind and there's a huge difference. And
huge.
I was like, wow, you know? And so don't be so harsh on yourself. And I'm pretty sure you're not harsh on yourself, but I think by you not having that soft landing for your own self can be, you know, indirectly harsh for yourself. So
I did a bunch of things that like I never do. I've probably seen more movies in a theater in the month of September than I have in probably like 10 years because it was just something completely indulgent, something I could just kind of escape and get away and do because I'm not one to watch TV or go to movies or do anything for pleasure. Like pleasure to me is like learning and building and creating and all of these things. And I mean, those are the things I do. So I've been doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And then,
Do you ever feel guilty about taking care of yourself?
Oh, yeah. All the time. Yeah. I'm terrible. Like this entire week, this is laughable. This entire week, there's a Chinese spa over in the Hollywood district that I like to go to and get like foot soak reflexology kind of massages. And this entire week, I have dressed like I'm ready to go. Like loose fitting pants or yoga pants and everything. Did I go this week? No. Not yet. Every day like I've gotten up because I'm not great at like doing it for me. If I have a reason to do it with a girlfriend, like or somebody, and we're like, yeah, let's go do that. Like,
Drag you to
I'll
there.
do it. They don't even have to drag me. I'll drag them. But I need, and it's so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous, Corinne. Like like every day, like yesterday, as time was, slipping through the day, I was like, okay, Michelle, you've been ready all day. Like, just shut the computer off, step away, just go. You don't need an appointment. They always do walk-ins. Like, just go.
Yeah, you
so
hold yourself. That's why a community is so much more important than being by yourself. I always say that it's so easy to quit on yourself by yourself, but it's so hard to quit on yourself with a community. Because you hold, and it's very weird how we hold ourselves accountable more when there's another person going with us or depending on us. It's kind of like a job. Like, people don't show up for their business. That's why most businesses fail, because they will clock in and out 8 to 5 on a job, because there's an exchange of paycheck. There's a boss that'll hold them accountable. But when you are an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, it's hard to hold yourself accountable. It's a very challenging part of being a business owner.
Yeah. Yes.
So I want to know more about co-parenting or raising your children with a sister, because that is a very different dynamic. And I could almost bet you there's probably other people doing that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so when we all came together, it was that her marriage was falling apart. She was in an abusive relationship, and she didn't even realize she was for many years. All of us as family from the outside, we were concerned and felt like that was definitely what was going on, but you never really know someone else's relationship. And when you can't identify that that's where you're at, that you have no access to money, that your resources are limited, that your time is demanded upon. Perhaps, it's not necessarily that anyone's laying a hand on you, but it's the words that they're saying that are undermining your very fabric of who you are as a person. All of these things. And so as that was kind of unraveling, it became very apparent that the only way to kind of get out was like having to leave and then petitioning to have the right to leave with the children. But having been a stay-at-home mom and not knowing how to do that. And then at the same time, I had been separated for a couple of years, knowing that I was going to get a divorce, but just sort of doing the due diligence and doing the therapies and the everything. I had an empty house for a while because my husband had moved 3 years earlier out of the house to take a job 2 hours away. And so I had actually been a single mom. I was a single mom for all intents and purposes, when I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And so I had been raising my 3 kids since my littlest was 4 weeks old. And then he'd come in 2 days a week and we'd go out almost every weekend. So I'd kind of been doing that and kind of had some familiarity around it. So it sounded nice to have help a little, or have someone in the home. And so it was something I could do. I could open up our home to her and her 4 children, and I had 3. So at the time that she moved in, which it would have been 5 years in January. So the timeline, so just short of 5 years. And she is my youngest sister. So I'm the oldest of 5. So there's 15 years between us.
Wow.
Which is a pretty big gap. But yet what binds us is sisterhood, but it also as mothers, because I think that there's that common things that you're going through. Yeah.
Single mom.
Yeah. And so even though we had this huge age difference in terms of our backgrounds and our experiences, and even in our family unit, we were very similar in being mothers and doing this kind of solo. And so she moved in, and she moved in literally with black plastic bags of stuff and some vouchers to buy furniture. And we did that, and we just kind of created this space. And I talked to my kids about it. And I think at the time we all thought it was going to be a short thing, like maybe 6 months, right? And then the years kind of, accrued. And I'm always grateful to my children for also opening their home, because that was a pretty big change for them as well. And I'm sure they'll tell me about it more when they're adults, because that's how life goes. You go, well, this was messed up. Like,
Or they enjoyed
or they'll
it.
think it's lovely. Who knows?
Yeah.
But at the time, it was what we needed, and it's what we needed to
Yes.
survive. And I was working on building my company Changewear as well, and it's what I needed, and we could support each other in that. So at the time when she moved in, her youngest was 2, and my oldest out of 7 kids was 9.
Wow.
And so,
You guys were busy.
so busy. They were 2 4-year-olds, a 5-year-old, a 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old.
What'd you learn from all that experience?
Oh man, I learned that it is so helpful to laugh every day, and we did.
That's
And that it's all right for your home to be messy. It's just okay.
Thank you for that.
Give way to that. And it's okay that your house is loud and chaotic too, because now it's not.
Mm-hmm. It's always a stage, you know.
Yep.
As I was listening to your story, I feel like there was a paving the way for your sister to get back in your life in a more closer structure. Listening to your story between you and your husband and how things fell apart slowly, and then it led to your sister identifying herself as, you know, in abusive relationships. And it's really difficult for those people to feel like they are, and they're usually in the first stage of that is like a denial that they are, because that is their normal and they don't know the difference. And I don't know if you've heard some of my solo episode where I told my story, but my mom, you know, was a victim of domestic violence, and somehow domestic violence. And I always say we were too as children, because we were in that
collateral. Absolutely.
Collateral damage. And we're in that environment. And I think that it's very rare that you hear it from the children's perspective. And so I talk a lot about what I saw and what I grew up in and the environment. And so for domestic violence to always show up and sprinkle all over my podcasts from other people's story is the part that really healed me a lot, because that was a huge issue that I carried on with me for a very long time. And you know, so it's nice to hear your sister's story, and also for her to get out of it, and having you as a soft landing for her to land.
Well, and I always like to say that we both supported and helped each other so much. So in terms of what our lives looked like, there was, it's interesting raising children with another mother, because I think intuitively, and maybe as caregivers, just sort of in our DNA, perhaps we just intuitively kind of know to do some things. So like we always just knew to, like, if when we were getting kids up, somebody's doing the hair and making sure the kids all have socks and jackets and shoes, and someone else is making breakfast and helping get lunches going. And it's just like, you don't have to communicate. It wasn't like this thing. It was just this beautiful kind of dance that we just knew what to do.
It flowed
So well. And because of that, we also could appreciate that we needed breaks. And because we weren't in a romantic relationship with each other, there wasn't this push-pull of like, oh, you're going to do that without me. There was that sometimes. But lots of times we were there to just support each other. So during that 5 years, I was able to build my company from an idea to samples, to manufacturing it, to getting it in the marketplace, to selling it. She was able to get her feet under her, create credit history, create this really strong future for herself, go back to school, start working, and be able to work and balance school and work and all of that. We'd go to each other's children's conferences. If they needed some extra help in their classrooms, we were there to support each other with that child. We'd do vacations separate and together. And so she went to Hawaii one Christmas because her kids were going to be going with their dad part of that break, but I had the kids, all of them, for part of that time. And she went to Hawaii for 2 weeks. I went to India for 10 days, just
Wow.
before I went to court for my divorce. We'd take separate vacations and just have each other's back. Because I mean, that's a lot to ask of a friend, like, hey, will you take however many kids you have plus my 3? Or, hey, will you take however many kids you have and my 4? Like, that's a lot. So,
That's
you know,
huge.
to know a mom has your back and she's got all 7 and it's okay. And go and have a great time was huge. We'd be able to cover each other for a date night. If we were going out with a girlfriend or on a date, we'd do date nights together. So we'd make a practice of making sure that there were times that we got away together as well to do something fun or to just refill us as individuals and as moms. And then my brother also lived here too. And, you know, what I say is he came to live here a few months after her and I merged. And he has a grown child and he still lives here. And he needed a soft place to land during that time too. And he was able to rebuild his life and has a contracting company now and is doing phenomenal. And my sister's doing phenomenal. And so that experience of us living in one household, 10 people, like is not for the faint of heart, but it also was exactly what we needed to just help us reset our lives and have that support.
That makes me smile. I was raised in the Philippines, born and raised. I came here when I was already going on 21. And in my country, we're like that. You know, our home is a launching pad for our family. And we could live with our parents and our family for as long as we needed. And there was really no pressure. And, you know, we launched whatever we launched from home, but that's good that you're not only a soft landing for them, but it's also a launching pad for them.
I love that. And it was true for me too.
Yep.
You know, that I could be the soft place to land and they could be that for me. And they were absolutely, and still are, you know, and also that launch pad. I love that.
Yeah. Let's talk about Changewear because this one has a huge part of your story.
Yeah.
And not only that it's a huge part of your story, it lights you up. You should have seen yourself. And it's your current life. And, you know, I know that you take breaks and whatnot, but it's your hustle right now. And I want the world to hear what Changewear is all about. I want the world to hear why you created this company.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it is the hustle and it is the thing that I take breaks from sometimes because life just happens. And I've been able to build it all this time with just a tiny little bit of angel friend family money and mostly my life savings. And so on one side, I've had the beauty of being able to, when life just happens, to set it down for a minute and not have guilt or have investors or have other people like, why aren't you moving this faster? And I've been able to just be a part of life too. But on the other side, it also moves slower because there's not huge investment dollars like all of my other peers to help just launch it so quickly. And sometimes I think there's a beauty in going fast and breaking things. And sometimes there's a beauty in building something authentically that's a parallel to your life. And so that's a lot of what Changewear is.
It's not a race.
No. And guess what? It's my thing, my creation, my inspiration. So I get to right now decide what that looks like. And it's had a few chapters. So the story with Changewear is really, it's in 2 parts. I've always been curious and I think maybe an inventor's mindset a little bit. And so when I came up with the idea of Changewear, it was because I wanted to think of something that I could wrap my brain around as a woman. I wasn't even a mother then. It was years before that. And at the time I was doing laundry and I had a little Victoria's Secret bra in my lap that kind of just landed there as I was doing laundry. And I thought, oh, this is cute. It's got like this red, like nylon fabric showing through the black lace and it's cute, but it's a little loud for everyday wear. And it's too bad I can't wear it different ways. And that's where it came from, that idea. And I thought, oh, what would that be like? Like, would there be a cost savings there if I could change the surface color, if I could change the strap color, if I could wear it multiple ways, so then now it's more versatile? Like, would that be interesting? Would there be some value there? And I was like, I think so. So researched the market, did all of that, ended up getting a patent attorney and doing the search and all of that. And I ended up getting a patent actually in 11 months from start to finish.
Wow.
Which is really, really unheard of. And no office action, just like straight ahead. And so then it was like, oh my gosh, like I've just kind of been like goofing around a little bit. Like, this is going to become public knowledge. I need to get out there immediately. So brought in a designer and a pattern maker and set to work trying to figure out how to do a bra, and thought like, oh, it can't be that hard. It's like I've worn one for already a few years now. And turns out it's really hard. It's really engineered. There's about 22 points of contact on the body. Fit is very unique to each of us. There's a million little pieces of raw materials that go into making one, and it's all like such small little amounts. And one little piece of rub or friction or itchiness will make us just be like, I'm done with this thing. So there were so many pieces to that. So while I was building that, we were about a year into it. I saw that a huge company, a multi-billion-dollar company, was coming out with their version of this idea, and they didn't have a patent. And I was like, what? And so the short is, I got a law firm. We asked them to respond to that. And I, just my personality, I'm not this aggressive, like, you're infringing you. I was like, hey, I think there's some similarities. Let's talk. Like, let's do this. That's not necessarily how it works when you're a multi-billion-dollar company. They don't really do that. They send their lawyers to take care of it, right? And so their response was basically like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was early 30s, I think, and I had just gotten pregnant with my oldest. And I felt like that was the universe saying, you know what, put it down.
Wow.
Put it down, step away from having a creative mind, and you're going to be a mom.
Oh, that's really tough. Let's pause for a minute there, because that is a challenge that every single moms go through, especially moms like us that are creatives. There's a lot of guilt there too, where, I'm chasing my dream, but I'm going to be a mom, and how dare I be chasing my dream when I'm a mother and I should be there for my children and, every minute and second of the day. Because let's be honest, when you're chasing your dream and you're an entrepreneur, you're not going to be there every second of the day.
No.
It's the truth. And
even as a mom, you're not, because at some point your kids are going to hit teenage years and they don't want you there every second of the day.
So what went through your mind when you went through that what I like to call a vortex where it stops us from going for it? And it's like, okay, hold off a second. Think about this. This is the universe sending you some sort of a cryptic message.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't even feel like it was cryptic at the time. I felt like the universe was very loudly saying, put it down. And then I was very quietly saying, okay, and I'm going to come back to you at some point. Which I think is, as you said, it's something that I think a lot of women feel, whether it's a career that they're just getting started with, something that they went to school for and they feel passionate about this, but they also know that they're about ready to step in and be the primary caregiver. Like, that's what it is. And you also want that too. Like, I wanted to have a family very much so.
Yeah.
But it felt like I had to really, truly choose one or the other, which I think that mindset's changing a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. But that's how I felt at the time. I felt like, you're going to put this down, you're going to lock it away in a box, and we don't want creativity right now. It equals pain. We don't want this. It equals disappointment. We don't want this. It equals expense and debt and friction. You're going to do this over here, and this is also what you wanted, and motherhood. And so it was a really lovely time, because I absolutely love being a mom, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that role. And I think it is absolutely my most important role that I get to hold in my life. However, it was also really hard because I didn't want, I didn't want creatively for that to give life, because I didn't know how to be in two places like that. And I didn't think I could. So I became a mother, and I had 3 children over 6 years. And I thought about Changewear at times. It was always kind of back there. The world was changing. The internet became a place where you would actually shop. That was new. Women were identifying more as individuals and wanting less of the sameness. And so the world was changing while I was a mom and being the steward of their lives in the beginning.
It was accommodating your future.
I like that. Yes.
The world,
it was accommodating the world. The universe was moving to give me new life there. So when I was pregnant with my youngest, I started thinking more about Changewear. Like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this. I had grown up. I had learned how to be, I think, a better communicator, a better connector. I learned that it was okay to ask for connections and friendships and conversations. And so I was kind of starting to do that. And then when my youngest was a year old, she had just had her first birthday, my husband at the time found a lump in my right breast. And I didn't have a history of breast cancer. I didn't give it a second thought, not for a moment. It was about the size of a pea. It didn't move. It kind of felt tethered there. It didn't hurt. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a swollen milk duct. I'll kind of massage it good. I'll nurse really well on that side. This was a weekend, and it didn't go away. So on Monday, I called my doctor, and he got me in, I think, on a Thursday, and said, ooh, I don't, I think he said, like, oh, let's send you for an ultrasound. And I was like, okay. And I had also had my knee had been hurting me for about 4 months, and I had started running again, and he had kind of brushed it off. So I said, yeah, what about my knee? And he was like, okay, yeah, we'll do an x-ray on that too. Sure. I'm like, okay. So I do the ultrasound. I see it on the screen, this black solid mass that they're measuring and checking the blood flow. And I know in that moment, like, oh my gosh, I have cancer.
Wow.
And, just from having ultrasounds and having children, I was like, that's what that is. Get called back from the radiologist. We'd like to biopsy the next day. And so then I get thrown into this world of, I started out at stage 1 cancer, chose a double mastectomy, and came out of surgery, and I was stage 3, multiple lymph nodes, 9 lymph nodes. And
oh my God,
went into this world of 5 surgeries, 18 weeks of chemotherapy, 6 weeks of radiation, all of these things.
Dang, girl.
And not only had started to get these skills of like asking for help, but like had to straight up ask for help and accept help, which is a super humbling place to be in.
When for a strong person.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about that soft place to land, 100%. Yes. Because my husband worked away from home, 2 hours away, lived over there. And so I needed lots of help. So I went through this whole cancer thing, and not for the faint of heart, but I'm a very positive, optimistic person. So I continued through that as well. And I'm very grateful for that whole experience and for the amazing community of help. So about, I was maybe 9 months out of active treatment, and my oldest says to me, Mom, you can't give up on Changewear. You have to follow your dreams. And I'm like, oof, like, oh my gosh. As a parent, it is so much easier. I'm just saying this straight up. It is so much easier as a parent to encourage other people's dreams. I don't care. Not even as a parent. It's so easy to encourage other people's dreams.
Super.
So easy. And you want to, and it's joyous and it's exciting. But it's really hard to have that flipped on you, and someone is challenging you to go through with your dreams.
Especially your own children.
Yeah. I was like,
because,
oh my gosh.
Because we tell them you can do whatever you want. You can be anything. If you put your mind and heart to it. Anything. And then we go turn around and go right back to our old habits. It's like, what kind of example are you showing?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but they are watching
all the time.
Single move we make.
All the time. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, you're right. And I just picked it up and started running with it. Within a couple of months, I found out devastating news and my whole marriage fell apart. We hadn't been living together, so at least there wasn't that. But like, okay, so now my whole world's like, I'm getting ready to start a business. I'm freshly out of breast cancer. I am a mom of 3. And now I've been at home for the last 4 years. So, or 3 years, 2 years, something like that. And I'm like, okay, I just have to do it. Like, I'm just going to keep doing it. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And so it took a couple of years at least to kind of figure out how to rebuild Changewear, new patterns, new everything. What was a really big turning point for me was I built this product, and I say it's adaptable apparel, but really it's about the individual. It's about the individual being able to choose what color represents them that day, what style, how they want to face the world, even if no one else sees it. Because we do that with how we dress on the outside. But I mean, I would say we dress a lot for other people still on the outside, or for ourselves some. But these undergarments are the first things you're putting on every day. And I wanted to create something. And it's more than just intimate apparel is my vision. It's really about creating products that put the individual in the designer position, where they get to design how they want to look and feel and face the world every day. And then they can do it over and over in the same base pieces. So that's what I wanted to create. And I think I did. However,
Yes.
What I ended up creating was something much more, I think, deeper and connected to our soul. So when we had the first samples of Changewear, we had a fit model that we were training them on. I was giving them out to friends, things like that. I wasn't wearing a bra. I hadn't been wearing a bra for a couple of years. I had had a double mastectomy. I didn't have tattooed nipples. My nipples had to go away with all the other bits that were all dangerous and trying to kill me. And I was fine. I was strong. I was fierce. I was like, whatever, I'm here. I don't care.
It didn't define you.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I realized how much I was disconnected from my mind and my body. And you won't be able to see it on the podcast, but it's like I'm touching my head and my chest. And what that meant is when I started wear testing them, just to test them for friction and comfort and all these things, the way I could dress with intention every day and change the color or change the strap, so maybe it showed out on a tank top, or do something, and then it gave me a little more shape on top, and I could face the world. What I was doing, I believe, is reconnecting my mind and body in this way that I didn't realize I was so disconnected. And that was really the big aha moment in Changewear. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm creating something that gives women the opportunity to really decide how they feel, not just put on something that they saw in a model or in a catalog or online or whatever, and they put it on and they try to make it their own, but they truly physically can make it their own by changing the color and the style. And maybe it makes them feel a little bit more powerful under their clothes. Maybe it makes them feel more like themselves. Maybe they're having a terrible day, week, or month or year, and they need to wear 2 different colors and 2 different colored straps, and they need to be this mashup of color and silliness and goofiness, because that's all they're clinging to.
Yeah. Yes,
and
girl.
That's what Changewear is it's about the individual being able to define for them how they feel and being able to start to reconnect their mind and body, because we all have these conversations that go through our head, or conversations that have come in externally from us, that somebody made a comment about our butt or our breasts or our skin or our hair
or your wardrobe
or our teeth, or our wardrobe or whatever. And they're stupid and they don't matter, but they float around in our head. And when we're feeling a moment of darkness or uncertainty, that comment has a way of filtering up to the surface. And we need to feel like we are the superheroes and we have the power to shut it down by choosing how we're going to face the world.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
like
what
that.
Changewear is about. So it's bras, it's panties. We're not changing the world in that. We do wire free and wire bras, but it's really about, we're the only company giving women products that allow them to become the designer of their inner wear, is what I say.
I
Which
love that.
seems, you know, to me, it feels both silly because you're talking about just like fashion and things like that. But on the other hand, it feels so incredibly powerful because
Mhm.
it's also about personal choice.
Mhm.
No one gets to tell you how you face the world. You get to do that. And it looks like a
Mhm.
million different things, and they're all good.
Well, and with the colors that change, and we talked a lot about this, like the mood ring, where it changes
Mhm.
color based
Right.
on your mood. And I think that the underwear or the inner wear is what you call it, is
Yeah.
going to change how you show up in this world.
Yep.
You're the only one that knows about what you're wearing under,
Uh-huh.
but you're also the only one that has to deal with your shit, right?
Yes.
You're the only one that has to deal with your issues.
Yeah.
Especially, and I heard this from Dr. Wayne Dyer on one
Mm.
of his YouTube, is that nobody ever dies from a snake bite. You
Mm.
actually die from what the snake leaves you after he or
Mm.
she bites you. It's the
Yeah.
venom, right? And
Yes.
so when people make comments about these nasty comments that can live in your mind, that is their venom you're allowing to
Yes.
kill you.
Yeah.
They bit you, but they're no longer biting you after the fact, but it's the
Yeah.
venom of that person
Mm.
that remains inside your brain. And if you can just shield that venom and get rid of it with a changewear. I love the name Changewear, and I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever explained what the company is about
Yeah.
based on the name, because
Yeah.
like
If
it
there's
changes your mindset every day depending on the color that
yeah.
you wear, and that's why it's called Changewear.
Yeah. Well, and when I first created it, it's like I wanted something that really told what it was. This idea of changing and wear, WEAR, and it's merged together. It's one word, but it's become so much more. Like we do a blog, and I've kind of had to take a break over the last few months with my brother's estate, but we interview strong women and women that have gone through fire, and women that are creating things, and women that are um, educated and interesting and curious and have stories to tell and are creating some kind of change in the world. And so it's called Creating Change Where You Are. And then it's like WHERE, like in parentheses next to the Changewear word, because I really think that those are such interesting stories. It's like what you're doing, telling women's stories and helping them just even do a little talk therapy on your show, really.
Mhm. That's what I
And
do.
work through it. And then we also, I believe so strongly in giving back, and I'm so grateful for everyone in my life. And so we have a partnership with Portland Public Schools where we give free changewear bras and color fill kits, which are the color cups that are dual color, and a set of straps and a garment bag and all of that. And these messages of inspiration and hope and encouragement
Oh,
and celebration. And we
that's
just
so
give
cool.
that to the clothing center. So they service around 2,000 young people through Portland Public Schools every year. And new bras are not something that companies donate. You see drives for used bras and underwear, and I think that that's lovely and great. But if Nike can give new shoes and Columbia can give new jackets, why can't there be more intimate apparel companies giving
Yes.
something so incredibly personal
Well, and especially for
new?
people that are going through breast cancer, like having support. I mean, if you could just wear your support everywhere you go, which is the
Definitely.
messages on your bra, that is something that is so unique. And I think you have something here that you should really
Mm.
pursue till the end of this earth, because
Thanks.
I think you're going to be big. I think you're going to be
Well,
the
thank you.
next Sarah Blakely.
Oh, thank you, Corrine. And I do point out that even though my story is inspirational from breast cancer, we make products for all women.
For all
Because,
women.
I think we all, we have a little symmetry from one breast to the other. And so our products, you can stack an extra cup behind there and even that cup out. We
Wow.
all want to feel silly, sexy, funny, strong, courageous, like all of these things, empowered, and that's something for every woman. And so we really make our products accessible for everyone. I just happen to have, I think, a good story behind how I came to build it, and it is a cancer journey, but it's not just that. It's also the clothing center is going to teens, right? And that's from being a single mom and co-parenting with my sister and struggling to create a company and going through divorce. Like, we've had to go through the clothing center, and I don't have shame around that, but I would have shame around not being able to provide young women an opportunity to put something new against their body that they can empower themselves. And but so that's something I can do.
Yeah. And that's a noble cause. Every company should have a noble cause. And I think when you have a noble cause, you can specifically change this world through your, it's like profit to purpose. Yep. Yes, it's a business. Yes, we have to pay attention to the numbers. Yes, we have to make profit. Otherwise, we won't eat.
Yes.
And if you don't eat, you starve and you're dead and you're no longer there to change the world.
And you can't help others. Exactly. You can't change the world. Exactly.
You can't. And so you have to take care, indirectly of yourself too, to be able to take care of other people. Yes. So I believe in you. I think that you are going to do great things in this world. I'm going to be, as you were talking, I was thinking about connecting you with a couple of different women that can hold space for you on a stage. I think you should tell your story in front of many people on stage. And
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a platform that has no judgment. It's just telling stories on stage, and so I think you're going to be good at it, just to tell your story. And the more you tell your story, one of the things that I learned from this platform is that the stories that you're most afraid or ashamed to tell is the one that's going to give you freedom.
Oof.
And
that sounds hard. But I believe you.
It sounds hard, but you're like, now I don't got to hide from behind that thing, behind the shame and the guilt and whatever you want to call it. But I think you need more platform. And I know my platform is big, but I don't think it's never big enough, right? It's always one, it's like that dot that's connecting, this dot is going to connect you to your next dot. And that's what we're all about. It's connecting and making a difference together, because collectively, I always say, mother this world, right?
Yes.
And I can't mother this world by myself. Are you kidding me?
No.
But I could be a channel. I could be, I don't have to be a reservoir. I read a daily devotion every single day. And one of the things that I read today in my daily devotion is, you are not a reservoir. You are a channel for people to flow through, so you can connect them to the next dot, or for money to flow through so you can help others and make an impact on other people's lives, because we do need money to make an impact.
Yes.
And for your energy to flow through so that there's more good energy in this world.
Yeah.
You cannot keep that energy by yourself and within you. You have to let it go.
Yeah.
To the wild.
And if you're a reservoir, you can only hold so much. But if you're a river, then, it's constantly flowing.
Yeah.
You can always take in more, and it just ebbs and flows and rises and falls. And it's okay. I love that.
You know what's really lovely about my podcast is not only that I get to connect the dots for people from one episode to another, it also connects the dots. And I tell you an example. Last weekend, I interviewed that lady from Bali.
Yes.
And you said something that is very similar to what she said. You got to listen to her episode tomorrow.
Okay.
Her name is Abby McKenna. And she said, whenever you're stuck as a mom and you don't know what to do, look at your kids and look them in the eye and ask them.
Oof.
The way that you said your was it your son or your daughter, your oldest?
Well, it was my oldest that encouraged me and challenged me.
Yeah. And then there goes the dot connecting, right? That challenge you. And when you're lost, go hang out with them.
Yeah.
They'll give you.
I love that. And it's so true. So I have one great comment that I love, and I cherish it. And this is that going back to your kids are listening and learning from you. My son one day, because he knows I talk about gratitude a lot, he said just out of the blue, and maybe he even said it for himself because maybe I was like on him like, doot, 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 you know, whatever. I don't know. But he said, Mom, gratitude before attitude. And I was like, oh, I love that. And so I have incorporated that in my life. And I'll catch myself sometimes where I'm like, poor me, or it's so hard, or, oh, like I'm overwhelmed, or this or that, or whatever. And I'll try to check in with myself and say, okay, are you grateful? Like, what are you grateful for? Let's see if that starts to shift your attitude.
I practice Thankful Thursday. So I go to CrossFit every day, Monday through Friday, and I take weekends off. But one of the things that I love about my CrossFit gym is they do Thankful Thursday. And I really got that idea from them, because we go through our week forgetting about being grateful and forget about being thankful, and just having a Thursday as a designated day to like really all day keep an eye out, you know, not just the things that you have and has happened to you and the blessings that's poured in for you, but also just during the day, what are you thankful for? And maybe that's also the day that you do an act of kindness, and, you know, having that day is, you know how people go to church on Sundays, right?
Yep.
And so having a designated day just for that is
I love that.
has been really super powerful for me. And I'm always grateful. I mean, when I wake up, I get my hands up in the air and say thank you, you know, and every time I wake up every morning, I do that. But I think having an entire day to just be thankful for, you know, I'm thankful for you, or, you know, people go to work and tell their coworkers are thankful for them. That's like something people are, at first they'll be weirded out, like, who are you? You know, like what happened to you? Because they're not used to that. But you know, eventually they'll get used to it. And you know what? Again, you're a channel, and that channel, that's going to flow through other people. And pretty soon the people around you are like, wow, she's really for real. Like she does this every Thursday, you know, and that's like you impact people without even spending any money.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Just with your energy.
I'm thankful to you. And I'm thankful for the connection that we were connected to each other, and the amazing things we're putting out in the world. And one of the things I like to ask everybody is, Corinne, is there a way I can be of service to you?
Yeah. Well, now I have you, and you're my friend, and I know where to find you. So I know that if you ever can be of service to me, I'll definitely reach out to you. Same thing with you. I'm here for you, sister. And we're now forever connected, forever connected. I'm one of your dots now, and now it's my job to get you to your next dot, and it's your job to get me to my next dot, wherever that leads both of us, because there's never an accident. And whatever we try to work on schedule wise back before this was never meant to be, because this is the perfect time.
It is. Right? Yeah,
anytime
it is.
You have like a push, it's and that feels like, oh, we're just trying so hard and it's not working, but just let it go because it'll just happen.
Right? Whatever message was supposed to flow through each of us today, you know, happened today, and it wouldn't have happened a month ago or 2 months ago or any other time.
Awesome. Before I ask you my last question, I have a couple questions before I ask the most important question that I ask everybody. What are your message to your children?
I think my message to my children is that we're so grateful for all the things that we have. If we can't be grateful for what we have in this moment, however meager or small it is, or however huge and abundant it is, how can you possibly be sending the message to the universe that you want more, that you deserve more, that you are asking for more? That's one. And then the other one is in our home, how much we value kindness, and that that kindness is something that you practice and that you have the ability to be an advocate and a champion for others whose voices maybe can't be heard, that you have an opportunity to stand up for evil and ugliness and abuse in the world, that you have an opportunity to lend your voice to help others and lift them up, and that you have an opportunity to use your kindness in your heart to create a beautiful, brilliant, lovely life. And so that's something that we really value in our home. So I think those are what I teach them. And then my children, if you were to ask them, what's my job? Like if they say, like, as a mother, they would like kind of like mumble, like, to keep me safe. And so ever since they were little kids, like learning to walk or not touching the stove or learning to cross the street or climbing too high in a tree, I'll just be like, hey, just watch it right there. Or, ooh, that's hot, and then if they push back on that, even as becoming teenagers, I'm like, look, what's my number one job? And they're like, to keep me safe. I'm like, okay, so just call and let me know you arrived. That's it.
That's awesome.
Just checking in. Like, loving you is not a job. So that's not even on the list. But my job is to keep you safe. And part of that is to like help you learn to be kind, to check in, to lend your voice to others, to all of these things, to, create this place in your life where you can trust yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I'm doing that. I'm really proud of my kids. They're amazing.
I always tell my kids, like, that's my job, but I can't do it without your help.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
I always ask them for help.
I like that. I like that.
We're a team.
Yes.
I can't do it all. This is a mantra that I always live by, is we can have it all. We just can't do it alone.
Yes.
And
Ooh,
so
like
my kids always hear that. And so they know that they have to do their part in order for me to do my job.
Yes.
Next question.
Okay.
Why do you think you're here in a grandest scheme of things, not just being a mom, but why are you here?
I think I'm here to create and spread kindness and joy and inspiration and tell my stories of struggle and tenacity and hopefulness. I think I'm here to be that soft place to land for others at times. I think there's lots of reasons, but I think to just truly just connect and help with someone else's suffering. And maybe in the end, it's only my own that by doing those things, I help with my own.
Thank you. I just want to commend you for chasing your dreams, no matter how difficult life can get for you, because you're not alone. We're all in this together, right?
Yeah, thank you.
It is very commendable for someone like you who's gone through double mastectomy and, at the same time motherhood, and at the same time divorce, and at the same time being a co-parent for 7 children, and you name it, it's there. You just have to clean the chaos by giving yourself some time to chase those dreams, because the chaos will always be there. It's called the whirlwind of our life. And how do you focus when the whirlwind, while the whirlwind is going, because you can't stop it. It's there. You dance with it. And so I commend you for being the woman that you are and how you show up in this world. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Last question and final question.
Okay.
Or prior to my final question, where can we find you? Website? Instagram handle, social media?
Well, the good news is they're all the same. You just have to get the spelling right. So it's Changewear. So we sell our products online, and I think I created a discount code or a freebie for your audience that any Changewear bra, and it'll be in the podcast information, you put in the code and you can be able to get a set of color fills you choose. It'll give you multiple more ways. It'll give you like 4 to 8 different other ways to wear one Changewear bra. And so that's one. So changewear.com, ChangeWear, no dashes, no forward/is nothing, just changewear.com. Same thing for our Instagram at Changewear, and same thing with Facebook. And the other one that I do a little Instagram, if you just want to follow me personally, that's fine, is touched by the scars. And each of those words has an underscore underneath it. So touched underscore by underscore the underscore scars, or underscore scars. Yeah. And that's just kind of me sharing more of my musings, and that I believe we all have scars in our life, and they're these beautiful things that help us. They show what we've overcome, and they heal up, and they're a reminder of our tenacity and strength. And whether they show or not, we all have that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Final
you.
and last question.
Okay.
What is your definition of mother hustler?
Oh, I think being able to be a model for your children and other mothers in the world of just going after your dreams. And it's hard. Oh man, it's hard. It is hard, ladies, mothers, bosses. It is hard. It's hard, but you are not alone in it. And I will tell you, over the past 7 years, including cancer, and this feels hard to say, cancer was one of the easier things that I went through.
Wow. Powerful.
But it also prepared me for all these other things, and all these other things, I wouldn't change it, and I wouldn't have it another way. But go after those dreams, because you won't regret it. You'll learn something. You'll meet new people. You'll lead an exciting, dramatic, courageous life.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.